Hey pretty guys and gals, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my Endometriosis and Ovarian Cyst series. The first video today is going to be about my story and how I was diagnosed and all that fun stuff, and where it started to today. Number 2 is going to be up next week, and it's going to be about prescriptions that I've had since all this stuff started and what I thought of the prescriptions. Number 3 is going up the week after next, and it's going to be my over-the-counter things that I've found that have helped, for me at least, and I want to pass that information to you, so be on the lookout for those. So let's go ahead and get started with today's video, since this may take a while. Okay, so my story begins in October of 2012. I had my gallbladder taken out, surgery went great. When I woke up, they told me that my menstrual cycle would be off for 6 months to a year, at least. So as soon as I was up to it, I went to my family doctor and had him do a gynecology appointment type thing. I figured since I probably didn't have any problems, that would be a good idea, instead of going all the way to a gynecologist and having to deal with, you know, them wanting their money up front and all that crap that normal gynecologists have to, have to offer. So he checked me out, no problems. I expected that. I wanted to be able to say, later down the road, if there was a problem, I could say, up until this point, I was fine. So I was able to say it. He sent me home with some birth control, and I started it, and a month later, when I was having my first period with it, went to the emergency room because I thought I was going to die from bleeding so much. So everyone told me, just stop taking the birth control, you'll be fine. So I did. Then in February, a couple months later, I was going to go back relatively soon, but then I started feeling like I was pregnant. So I took a pregnancy test, and turns out it was positive. So I start freaking out because I just started dating Ed. Ed and I hadn't been intimate yet, so this would mean that the baby would have been my last boyfriend's baby, who is in prison, and who was at the time. So I start freaking out. But I go to the doctor. I go back to my family doctor. He does urinalysis and says, "You're not pregnant." And I was like, "Are you sure?" And I explained the symptoms: nausea, tired, and all this other stuff. He goes, "Well, we can do a blood test." And I was like, "Can you really?" So he does the blood test. It comes back negative. So I go, "What the heck?" So he sends me to the hospital later that week to have an ultrasound done, since they didn't have an ultrasound machine in the office. And I got the results back the following week. I wasn't pregnant. So I was like, "Well, what's the problem?" And he goes, "Well, we found a 3-centimeter cyst on your right ovary." So I was like, "Okay, what do I do about this?" He says, "Well, you're going to take a leave and some over-the-counter stuff until you can go see this gynecologist." And he refers me to a gynecologist. He was like, she's gonna examine you, and y'all are gonna figure out what to do from there. This is not my specialty. So I was like, okay. So I went to this lovely gynecologist, and I say that very sarcastically. They expected a $250 upfront gynecologist exam fee before I even walked in the door. So I was like, okay, this doctor better be freaking good. So I went in there. She went ahead and did a whole other yearly exam, which I just had 3 or 4 months before. And she said, "I don't know why you came out here." She was like, "I don't feel any cysts," because she just did a pelvic exam. She didn't do an ultrasound or anything like that. So she was like, just take it easy, if you have any more problems, call your family doctor. He can do more for you. And I was like, okay. So a little time passes, and I'm feeling pains and all that good stuff still. So I call my family doctor back. I go to see him again. He gives me a shot, and he goes, "Okay, now I want you to go for a CAT scan just to make sure this isn't some after surgery thing," because apparently that happens. He prescribed me some drink stuff, some powder mixed drink stuff that I'm supposed to take every day to help keep things from getting blocked up in there, from where the gallbladder stuff happened. And so I did that, went to have a CAT scan, and then he sends me back to the gynecologist because they found another cyst. This one was 3.5 centimeters. So I went back, she did an ultrasound, and there's about a month between the CAT scan and my appointment with the gynecologist because the offices and work and all this other crap. So I went to see her again, and she says, I don't know why you came back. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, you have, you're a normal 21-year-old woman. You're having problems that you should be having. And then she goes, and it's not even really a problem. She's like, women of your age always have cysts. And then she starts yelling at me about my doctor. About, she's like, well, I don't understand why you let him do a CAT scan for cysts. That's harmful. You should have let him do just an ultrasound. It would have been, you would have gotten the same results and you wouldn't have been exposed to that much radiation. And I was like, excuse me? I was like, first of all, I thought that ovarian cysts went away on their own and they weren't supposed to interfere with your daily life. And if they do, that's when you go see a doctor. And point number 2, you don't know what my doctor was actually looking for. He was trying to make sure that my gallbladder removal surgery wasn't affecting anything else. So thank you. So I walked out of her office, never to see her again. And I still owe her money. Ain't paying it. She's going to sit there and yell at me like that. She's going to have to fight for it. Anyhow, so, a few months pass. I'm dealing with it, just toughing it out. And I finally decide, you know what, I'm going to go try another doctor. So then I find the doctor that I'm seeing now, and this is in August. And let me tell you something. I love this doctor so much. He's awesome. He's hilarious. Anyway, I go to see him, and the first thing that we do is we do an ultrasound, and he finds some more cysts, which I knew he was going to find. And these were small, no problem. And I explained what happened. I explained to the gynecologist what happened at her office, and he goes, well, she shouldn't have yelled at you like that. He goes, and 2, good for walking out of her office and not taking her crap for an answer. Because you know that there's something wrong going on in your body. And you're trying to figure out what it is so you can get over it and move on with your life. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. So then he sits me down in an office. And this is what I love about his office. He does the exam, he does the ultrasound, and then you go to his office to talk. I love that. Anyway, we go to his office. And he's like, you probably have endometriosis. And I go, okay. And he goes, I can't 100% confirm it without doing a laparoscopic procedure because of your situation. Your case looks like it very well is, but I can't define it because I can't see it unless I go in. And I was like, okay. They're like, so what do we do now? And he goes, well, I'm going to put you on the NuvaRing, and you're going to come back in November, and we're going to see what happens. So he sends me home with the NuvaRing. I try it. I don't get to come back in November. I go back in January. By that point, I had quit taking the NuvaRing because A, it's expensive, and B, you'll see why in the next video why I quit with the NuvaRing. Anyway, I go back and see him in January, and we do an annual exam. Everything's fine. He sees some more, or he didn't see any cysts, but he did see, that there's still some problems. Don't know exactly what he saw. It looked, to me it looks like it's supposed to. Anyway, so he says, okay, we're going to try something else. We're going to try putting you on a low-dose birth control pill. Hopefully that won't cause problems. So he sends me home, says, we're going to meet up again in March. Just take it, do that. So I took it, and I went back in March. Still no cysts, but had to quit taking the low-dose birth control pill. Again, you'll see why next week. And then we did the exam. No cysts. So then he says, we're going to put you on progesterone. Okay. Sends me home. I go to see him a couple weeks ago. I had a bunch of little cysts, but he said my ovaries are starting to look better. He's still wanting to do the surgery at some point, probably next year by the way everything looks. Basically, he said I'm in the final stages of the waiting game. He wants to go ahead, if it gets worse, he wants to go ahead and do the surgery as soon as that happens. So I've opted for no painkillers for this part. I probably should, just for those nights when I can't sleep. But it's been a rough road. I've been tired, I've been nauseous, I've had heartburn, I've had hot flashes. You girls name it, due to hormonal stuff, I've had it. So that's all for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment to totally make my day. And also don't forget to like and follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, my blog, Tumblr. Here, all the links will be on the info bar below. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye, pretty guys and gals.